From Turbo3.com. Today is August 4th, 2016. This is the Black Star update report connected to volume 31 of Terrell's 2016 newsletter. Had to make this video again. Some of you guys noticed that the sound was not right on the first video. This is going to be a condensed version as I'm running out of time before the radio show starts. Seismic and volcanic indicators for week 25 of the 2016 Earth orbit cycle relative to the Black Star in the Virgo constellation. It's between Virgo and Libra relative to the Sun. Say that Earth just went through the bounce. This was the expected bounce that I talked about last week in seismic volcanic activity in the same way we saw for 2014 and 2015. If you look at the year over year, remember these are not the same calendar weeks, but the orbit cycle begins about 12 days later each year, just about 2 weeks. Then because we had the 7 in 2014, the 7 in 2015, and almost 2 weeks later, then we have another 7 in week 25 of this cycle. 6 magnitude earthquakes are just about at the average, 5 and 1. We had 6 for the last 2 years, 3 this year. These values here are a little bit low, lower than we saw. We had jolt values just about identically. We didn't see it this year on this cycle. The activity continued, it's just a little bit low. And it looks like this should be a red value, but whenever you go down to the bottom of the chart, then you see that we had 196 has actually gone up only by 10 events, but we've been looking at 205, 207. This is just about what we see as Earth is doing its best to maintain equilibrium through going through this low period and through the bounce that that was expected. That's what's been happening. Then quite a bit of information here. If I'm not sure yet if the 2014 pattern is going to hold true or if the 2015 pattern, but we're just going to keep our eyes open. I expect, let's look at where we are in the solar system. And what I expect, because see we're nearing, see Libra's right here, we are nearing this right triangle position where we should see the minimum values in the chart. That means 2 weeks of sub 20 values for the 5 magnitude earthquakes, and that means sub 200 values. We should see 2 right together. Doesn't always happen, but that's kind of the pattern. Whenever we go back and look at the chart, and we go back to last year for week 30, it's easier to see on the 2014 chart. We have these sub 200 values. We actually just had 1 on the last cycle. It's 2014 where we saw 2 in this area, and we see these 2 sub 20 values for the 5 magnitude earthquakes. So we'll see which pattern holds true. We had 6 new volcanic eruptions this week, and these 3 down here are expected. This is where we've had activity previously. These Russian earthquakes, they're the exception to the rule. Now we're going to watch to see if that seismic, I know I'm showing you the earthquakes, but the volcanism, let's kind of look at the depths. And it's this deeper activity in this region that's caused these events. And I went and looked, and it was on the 31st of last month that this happened, and the new volcanic eruptions came on the 24th, the 25th, and the 31st. The 31st right along with the earthquake event. So here's our big 7 that took place. That was predicted. And you notice that we're seeing deeper activity here. Expect there's going to be more volcanism in this area. That's from the magma upwelling associated with these deeper earthquakes. Deeper earthquake activity. Looking here in the United States, you can see that the California quake swarm area, that was the Baja California quake swarm area, has proliferated north. It's not as, we're in the lull period, so it's not as well defined, the line running from Texas up through Seattle. It's not as well defined right now, but I expect this line to kick off again once we get to the uptick period, which is going to begin in the 3rd week of August. So we'll see how that shakes out. Looking at the mid-Atlantic ridge, then you're not seeing any activity until you get way down south, down here. That's typical of moving through the Earth change lull period. And this activity, usually we have the uptick period, and then we see this activity spreading from Indonesia, and then at the alignment, we could have, like the Nepal quake on April 25th, 2015, that led to a series of earthquakes running all the way through Gibraltar that ignited the mid-Atlantic ridge, pointing directly towards this Jamaica quake swarm area. So seeing some signs that the Earth is attempting to maintain equilibrium, so there are a few indications of an uptick here. But what I think is going on, it has to do with the seismic / volcanic pressure shift, pressure moving from Indonesia over to the Americas. I think that's an indication. And when you get into the newsletter, you see there's there's a video and some background information on what's going on here. Some of these earthquake events out of the swarm area are reaching, see the 115, reaching down more than 100 feet. So that's another indication to me of pressures moving from Indonesia over to the Americas. This is a symptom. These are precursor events to what's coming later in the timeline. That's the way that I see it. 6 is a high number at this stage in the low period, and it's those Russian quakes that did it. Then I'm making mention here in the update report of this article. This was made by Suspicious Observers, who is Ben Davidson, and it was sent in by Sheldon. And he does mention magnetic portals here, but then in his commentary, he really doesn't seem to use that information anywhere. So I show some chart data. I'm going to go back and look at the solar cycles, do a comparative analysis of the large earthquake events that he's mentioning. And what I found was that there was an uptick and then a lull through the next peak, an uptick and then a lull through the next peak. And so he seemed to be half right, but the contradiction is that he is bumping heads with the heliophysicists and the seismologists that are seeing no connection at all between what the sun's going on. Just Google "the sun does not cause earthquakes" and you'll see what I mean. Lots and lots of scientists are on board with the notion that the bow shock, that the magnetosphere protects us from that type of activity, which that's the same rule for the interstellar wind, trying to send waves, to send subatomic particle flows into our solar system, but the heliosphere has its own bow shock. It compresses and it deflects. That's what it does. So as soon as he starts talking about a magnetic portal connection, then that moves through the bow shock. But he doesn't use, I can't see in his commentary where he's using magnetic portal connections, reconnections, active and passive conduits, or anything like that, that even understands what that is. Although likely he does, it's just not part of his commentary. And so I also give an SO video right here, and where he does do some good charting in here. And he's going, at the time of Fukushima, for example, the 8.8 chili quake, what happened the next year in Guerrero, the sun is showing signs that it's under the influence of the black star, which is not part of his commentary either. So I'm making some points here about Jupiter's heating up, and the sun is supposedly going to sleep, which is his. If you just go look at his sleeping sun series, you can see that he's a firm believer that the sun's going to sleep. But why is the sun going to sleep? It's not the sun that's the cause. It's the black star that's the cause. The black star is causing the sun to appear to go to sleep near solar maximum. So the sun doesn't have the energy. It's being redirected through the black star to the planets based upon their near proximity. And when you look at the solar system, then you can see that Jupiter is closing in on black star position. So more and more news, and that's why you're seeing articles like this. Scientists claim Jupiter's storm is heating up all parts of the atmosphere. No, the storm is a symptom. It's caused by what's going on inside of Jupiter, which is natural. That storm's been there for a long, long, long time. But now it's becoming opaque. The black star is the cause. The sun appearing to go to sleep appears to be going to sleep because the black star is siphoning that energy off and redirecting it. That's where the magnetic portal connection part comes in. And so anyway, expect to see more news about the what's going on with Jupiter, because as it closes on black star position, it is going to continue to change. It's going to change more rapidly now than it has in the past, because it's definitely getting close, as you can see by using solar system scope. So I go into a lengthy dissertation on the parts that have merit in his commentary and the parts that really just are nonsensical. Don't make any sense to me at all. You guys can make up your own mind about that. But it looks to me like he's trying to make the sun the culprit, the sun the blame, whenever something is influencing the sun. And especially when you get into the magnetopause reversals, 2012, March 12th, and then the ones that the collapse that took place here in April, that is a strong indication that we have something in space that is affecting the sun and affecting Jupiter, and it is in the Virgo/Libra constellations. It's in the area of space in between. That's why these events are happening later and later in the year. That's why we had magnetopause reversal in March 2012 and then April 2016, because of black star leftward movement in the orbit diagram. Then the magnetic pole migration. Whenever we were moving through this part, then I thought there was a disconnect between the magnetics of what the migrating magnetic north pole is telling us and what the seismic chart is telling us. But over here in August, whenever you look at August And you look at this August the 2nd, you can see in 2013, you see the backtrack here in 2014, and then the backtrack here in you see how you're looking at pretty large amount of time here. This is almost 2 weeks. This is the 12-day delay that I was telling you guys about. So do we have a 12-day delay this year? No. It's about a 3-day delay. And that's because we have 3-day delay between April the 25th, 2015 and April 28th, 2016 with our near side alignment events that are much too close together. So that's why I think these values are much too close together. This move for the last week of the magnetic North Pole is the smallest move that it's made in a week since the cycle started. Small move. So we were 1 day behind last week. Now we are, looks like 2 or 3 or maybe even 4 days. My prediction is for this green line to pass this negative 360 line on September the 5th. See September the 8th there? Let's see if it passes on September the 5th. That's my prediction, and then it's going to reach the top of the chart here around November the 27th. See the December the 1st? It's going to pass the top of this top position here about November the 28th, 27th to the 28th. We'll see if those predictions come true. That's going to kind of tell me that I'm on the right path anyway to finding a connection. That the Russians, and you see this Grim Report link? Read the Grim Report, because they're making a connection between what they see in their satellites in space, the magnetic anomalies over the United States, and the big one that is supposed to come here. I definitely believe there's a connection, and it looks like that we're on track for my predictions to come true. Then I wanted to update you a little bit. I've had a little bit of time, been rushed, lots of going on right now, but a little bit of time to mess with the making some more charts for the seismic information. Jason has let me send him the lots of data, and this is what he does. This is what he loves, working with data, charts, and making graphs and things like that. I'm going to let him work on it. Then he's going to give me some more advice on how to make better presentations. And what I want to do is show 2013 in yellow, 2014 in red, and kind of match the color coding for these two. And I think a pattern is going to emerge that's going to help us to see these things much better. Then project supporters for this week includes Rosemary, John, Steve, and Melissa. They all hit the subscription button, the subscribe button there at terralo3.com. My website that's really owned by one of the longest supporters of the Project Black Star investigation. They became newsletter subscribers. They have full benefits. It's only $25 per year. And now they send me questions. And this was the featured article, the second article that came in from Richard, I believe. Yeah, from Richard. Hello from a new subscriber. See, now Richard has the ability to help alter the narrative by asking questions from a certain perspective. Then I give my commentary, provide links so that you guys can go look the stuff up. And you can do the same thing. Go to terralo3.com, subscribe, and then you will have all of the information. You'll get a long notification email that has Dropbox folder link, giving you access to all the information, and all the newsletters, my books, and lots of stuff that is very difficult to find on the internet that's been gathered over the years. And then that's how that's the only way to support the research, is by going to terralo3.com. Then, before I get too far away from the boat here, that was Rosemary, John, Steve, and Melissa, new subscribers. Then Brennan, Brian, Jennifer, and Darlene, they renewed their subscriptions from previous years, and Randy made another donation to the research. Appreciate you guys' support very, very much. You guys are the ones that make it possible and provide me, well, motivation to keep digging into the research. So I've told you about the Suspicious Observers article. My reply is going to include these charts and stuff. There's been a lot of requests for more charts, more visual aids. And so I'm going to make arguments in here that the Earth is definitely heating up and the sun is definitely appears to be going to sleep. And the reason why that's going on. The black star being in the inner solar system is the only answer for temperatures going up at the same time that some scientists are claiming we're getting ready to go into a mini ice age, which really I don't buy. For a second, I believe 2017 will outpace 2016 as the hottest year in recorded history. And whenever they start saying global warming is caused by humans, well, humans must be causing Jupiter's core to heat up too at the same time the sun's going to sleep. That's the link to the story that I just showed you there. Then, let's see, I kind of showed you where we are in the solar system. Black star is just about in this position relative to the sun. You see we're not quite to the right triangle position. I expect that to come here in the next couple of weeks. And then once we get beyond the third week in August, The Earth is going to be around here. The black star is moving this way, so the next Earth change uptick period will begin. It is milder than the first uptick period that's caused by Earth moving towards the black star, because in the second one, actually, the black star is moving towards us. And we're going to see if the uptick is more gradual because of this slow 3-degree move left in the orbit diagram. That means the magnetic portal connection between the black star and Earth is shortening, but it's shortening more slowly than it did on previous cycles. It's been a 12-degree move left in the orbit diagram for the last decade average. Now we're only looking at 3. Thing is that the seismic chart, the way it looks, it's showing the black star still following its 12-day cycle. That's what's apparently happening. Otherwise, this event should have happened a week early. The event that we had this week, the 7.8 earthquake that was predicted, it's using the seismic data for a 12-day cycle. So we'll see if those predictions continue to hold true. We're going to learn more by getting to outside orbit position. When I see these low values, how low they are, and when it happens. Does it happen a little early or does it happen a little late? We're going to know more. But we're going to know a lot more when the Earth passes behind the Sun relative to the black star. You see how it's in November? And then the events have been happening a little bit late. So I'm expecting that the magnetic North Pole to hit the top of that chart that I showed you at the same time we come into backside alignment. That's what I'm expecting. And so we'll see. Really don't know what's going to happen yet. Then beyond that point, we go to outside orbit position again to start the new cycle, the 2017 cycle. And we'll see if that's 3 days later than last year, which is still it's just barely into the second week of February, or if it's in the third week of February when we get the sub 200 value on the 2.5 to 4 magnitude earthquakes. So we'll have to see how that shakes out. Then here's the part about Jupiter, and you should expect to see more and more information about Jupiter. They launched the probe there. They know that Jupiter's changing. We know why it's changing. Of course, they're not going to say. It's because the invisible binary twin to our sun is in near proximity. So again, lots and lots of information there, lots of commentary. And here's some commentary on Sandy's. She's Earth magnetosphere. She sent me to this video. And so here's my commentary on that. Again, more links. And here's links to recent newsletters. Then I apologize. This is going to be, it was a 43-minute video before. This one's going to be just about half that time in order to try to get everything done and meet my deadlines. This is information from Bended Reality. They always show up at the bottom of the featured section just above the top stories that's going on. This U.S. Army general dies 2 days before taking new command. Sheldon Day seems to think that it's pretty suspicious. And it appears that the guy was only like 55 years old. Yeah, 55, previously served. Was he going to blow the whistle on Project Black Star, or is it a coincidence? You guys can make up your mind on that. I provided Sheldon's commentary, but really there's insufficient data for me to be able to, kind of tell what's going on. And information on what Obama's doing, trying to destroy America, doing a very good job of it by using his ISIS crisis, which ISIS was created by Obama, the CIA, and the DOD, and to move all these masses around, create instability throughout the entire world. So the illegal alien invasion we have here is going on everywhere, as many places as possible. And this is in preparation for the elite to run to their underground arc cities. Eventually, crap hits the fan. We have migrants everywhere, if you want to call them migrants, illegals that have crossed borders illegally into other countries. And then, my view, the American people are going to demand martial law. The Europeans are going to demand martial law. It's going to be demanded by the law-abiding citizens because of the catastrophe created by the global intelligence community, the global military-industrial complex. Those are the ones behind ISIS. Those are the ones that murdered Stevens because he was going to expose the ISIS gun running in 2012. If we would have found out about ISIS gun running in 2012 from Stevens, then we could have avoided a lot of these things. We would have understood the power vacuum created by Obama deliberately for his ISIS invasion. We would have understood all this a lot more. The Donald Trump thing, the elite, whether the Republicans or Democrats, they're on the same team. They want to keep the 9/11 inside job hidden. They want to keep the black ops of the CIA hidden. There's too many secrets, and allowing a loose cannon in the White House is just not going to fit with the House of Rothschild, the Bilderbergs, the Council on Foreign Relations, the establishment. That's the establishment that these puppets in Washington work for. So a little bit of background on that from my perspective, and I don't like this guy. He's going to help get Hillary voted. He's part of the establishment, likely going to the underground arc city, and he's got a big thick beard for a reason because this guy has a lot to hide. He's another Boehner serving the open border lobby, and that's probably his biggest problem with Trump, because Trump's not just going to be business as usual, or at least it seems. And it makes me wonder if Trump isn't just going to throw the election, just like Romney did. That makes me wonder if it's going to be thrown to the establishment, if all this is just an establishment game. And I would like to see Trump win. I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I haven't voted in decades. So the whole system is corrupt, in my view. So I haven't participated in, but I want to see change. Trump is the change guy. So we'll kind of see if that happens. Then there's some Zika information in here that you guys may find important. Lots of information from Don, more on the political side. He's more on the political and religious side. This is Don, our project astronomer, sending in information. And then the radio show that I'm just about to do is going to start here in about 20 minutes. That 8.4 will appear right here if you download the newsletter after about 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock. So I'll get this video, well, it'll be uploaded whenever you know. But I'm going to try to get this thing uploaded right after the radio show. And I appreciate you guys' support very, very much. Sorry I'm a little bit scrambly here. I'm running out of time. And support the research. Subscribe at terralo3.com, the website. Thank you guys, and I'll see you on the next Black Star Update Report. Hello, YouTube and newsletter subscribers. This is Terralo from terralo3.com. Today is August 4th, 2016. This is the Black Star Update Report connected to Volume 31 of Terralo's 2016 newsletter. Had to make this video again. Some of you guys noticed that the sound was not right on the first video. This is going to be a condensed version as I'm running out of time before the radio show starts. Seismic and volcanic indicators for week 25 of the 2016 Earth orbit cycle relative to the Black Star in the Virgo constellation. It's between Virgo and Libra. Relative to the sun, say that Earth just went through the bounce. This was the expected bounce that I talked about last week in seismic volcanic activity in the same way we saw for 2014 and 2015. If you look at the year over year, remember these are not the same calendar weeks, but the orbit cycle begins about 12 days later each year, just about 2 weeks. Then because we had the 7 in 2014, the 7 in 2015, and almost 2 weeks later, then we have another 7 in week 25 of this cycle. 6 magnitude earthquakes that are just about at the average, 5 and 1. We had 6 for the last 2 years, 3 this year. These values here are a little bit low, lower than we saw. We had jolt values just about identically. We didn't see it this year on this cycle. The activity continued, it's just a little bit low. And it looks like this should be a red value, but whenever you go down to the bottom of the chart, then you see that we had 196 has actually gone up, only by 10 events. But we've been looking at 205, 207. This is just about what we see as Earth is doing its best to maintain equilibrium through going through this low period and through the bounce that that was expected. That's what's been happening. Then quite a bit of information here. If I'm not sure yet if the 2014 pattern is going to hold true or if the 2015 pattern, but we're just going to keep our eyes open. I expect. Let's look at where we are in the solar system. And what I expect, because see we're nearing, see Libra's right here, we are nearing this right triangle position where we should see the minimum values in the chart. That means 2 weeks of sub 20 values for the 5 magnitude earthquakes, and that means sub 200 values. We should see 2 right together. Doesn't always happen, but that's kind of the pattern. Whenever we go back and look at the chart, and we go back to last year for week 30, it's easier to see on the 2014 chart. We have these sub 200 values. We actually just had 1 on the last cycle. It's 2014 where we saw 2 in this area, and we see these 2 sub 20 values for the 5 magnitude earthquakes. So we'll see which pattern holds true. We had 6 new volcanic eruptions this week, and these 3 down here are expected. This is where we've had activity previously. These Russian earthquakes, they're the exception to the rule. Now we're going to watch to see if that seismic, I know I'm showing you the earthquakes, but the volcanism, let's get the